I've seen it. Maybe I should play it.
And give me all the bad scores.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. There is music, and the graphics is really dark. I don't know why.
Well, that's 1 point off.
Wait, why is the bold working there? Why?
What? Bold?
Yeah, I don't understand.
What's that mean?
You mean title?
Yeah, the title font is working just fine.
Oh. You should be like happy that your stuff
Is that
works.
bad?
When was it not working?
The WebGL version doesn't
Yeah,
work.
well, web fonts are wacky. They are.
Like, shouldn't they just be using the same fonts?
Web fonts tend to have lots of strange compatibility issues still.
That sounds horrible.
What?
Move mouse and move the camera. I don't know. I thought you subscribed to the school of Mega Man tutorials.
No, when it comes to controls, I explain it. I have to, because you're working with a keyboard, which is the most intimidating controller of all time.
No, it can be done. Use pictures.
I do agree with that too. I'm not an artist. So if anyone was wondering why I even made left click a jump button, that was for people who prefer to use arrow keys. In which case, arrow keys are usually on the bottom right hand corner of the keyboard. So I'm like, alright, then let's let their right hand do all the work. Same thing for the crouch with a right click. That was a very intentional control related design. So Marcus, this is the first time you've seen this game. What are your thoughts so far?
A little weird. So the basic concept is that your character is visible, but
Talk about bad graphics, you can't even see your character.
This is the Anthony Show!
you want a what's it called though? I like it when a game doesn't have like an obvious tutorial, and it's more like you're just playing the game as in learning.
That would be.
I know it's a lot harder to do.
For this game in
tutorials.
particular, I feel like it'd be tough in the amount of time of a jam. It's,
I would argue that I do a lot of the fundamental concepts in the game are tutorialized, as in like I don't explain it.
It's weird that you have the Zoom tutorial up there. I feel like it could be pretty useful down here. You know?
Interesting.
Alright. What's up here? Oh, more stuff.
Because when I was down there, I wasn't looking up. And if this came up down here, I would have zoomed out and seen that cube was low enough for me to jump on.
Interesting. I'll take that feedback. This is actually my favorite level. I'll let Anthony feel his way through to explain why. So, fundamentally, that last level actually has two different paths that one can take, and I have seen people use one over the other. But long story short, there was an invisible platforming segment that was intended to act sort of like a shortcut. It doesn't really act that way, honestly, because I didn't have the time to make that level longer than it was. But the fact that, it opens up to these multiple different paths, with one being harder to do than the other, to me was like a really exciting feature for this game. unfortunately, I do not bring that concept back anywhere else.
I have a question for you, Taro.
Yeah.
So, I think this is a really cool premise, and I know I saw some of your stuff you posted in like the postmortem, and you were talking about your inspiration as far as the particular artist's work, and the picture you posted of the bird
Right.
silhouette with like clouds visible only through the silhouette, like, was really cool, and it seemed like it worked really well in that image, which, like, I don't know, it led me, obviously I gravitate towards two-dimensional games in general, but it led me to feel like this sort of premise could work potentially just as well in 2D. I'm wondering, like, what made you go with 3D version of this versus 2D? Like, what did you think would be better about going 3D with it?
I had Papa and Yo in mind, actually. Papa and Yo has this visual graphic where there's the normal looking city, and then there's this surreal chalk drawings that a bunch of kids made up, and then, like, you can change the shape of the buildings and whatnot. Ultimately, I kind of wanted to create two different universes where, like, the second universe will be this, children's-based chalk drawing kind of things that will kind of point into all sorts of directions, and that would be the puzzle in and of itself. I guess it's just for me, I'm so used to working with 3D games that I just kind of think of 3D games by default. By all means, I do believe that this game can work just as fine in a 2D plane. I can easily imagine that this concept working in that area as well just fine. So
It feels like 3D adds like another layer of complexity onto it that I'm just wondering, like, it seems like for me, I want to have that justified with like something else that it adds into the gameplay or some other opportunity that it affords to kind of justify like the extra complexity of trying to figure out how to navigate this environment with 3D on top of the kind of two different worlds.
sometimes I don't have a good reason. Sometimes it's just by default. I'm like, I'm gonna make a 3D game, and that's what I decided on.
That's cool. I was just curious. I mean, a lot of times I go with 2D by default, so.
Right. So I don't actually have a particularly good reasoning as to why it's 3D. The other inspiration, honestly, includes Brian Shirtliff made a game for Global Game Jam called The Sun Always Lies, where your character is invisible and you have to use environmental cues. That was a 2D game, but that was an inspiration. The Legend of Zelda: The Lens of Truth was an inspiration as well, and that's a 3D game that I personally relate to a lot. That's so weird that the transparency color on that block is different. Oh, I know why, actually. Bah humbug, I must have screwed up on my scripting. Oh well, that's fine.
What is this, floating in the air?
It's hanging on the ledge. You can still push it further.
Oh, look at that.
I think this technique is cool because finally, for once, I have a good reason to put this fog of war thingy. One of the biggest problems, obviously, with working with 3D games is that things can get into your view, and there's not much you can do other than give them good, camera controls. But I'm thinking, like, instead of a character of a silhouette girl like this, I could just make that into a circle and actually have it paste on top, so that it'll look like you're seeing through buildings pretty clearly. So I feel like I can definitely reuse this technique for other more practical reasons. Of course, I choose I choose like a playable character only because I thought that was cool. But yeah, there's actually a lot more practical applications to this technique that I just realized while driving over here. I confess that when I had this game in mind, it was like, I don't remember if it was during high school or college, but either way, it was during those, young and mean days where I'm just like, I think this game idea is cool without really thinking through the game design and so forth. So I was actually kind of a little nervous working on this game, because I was concerned that my past self has not thought this through, and my current self will not be able to think this through either. But no, it looks like I can make a legitimate game out of it, so I'm pretty happy with that as a result. I really should have added ghost jumping into this game.
Ghost jumping?
Ghost jumping. It's a term for, in almost every platformer, if you fall off that ledge, you have a very small grace period where you can still jump. You're jumping off of a ghost platform, therefore ghost jumping. I mean, and it's really easy to implement. You just check how long the character has been off the ledge for, and then that's it. There you go.
Bingo.
So, fun fact, this music I actually composed during the jam, thinking, alright, this is the music I'm going to put into the game. And I listened to it, and I'm like, this music sucks. So I replaced it with the Crash Course Unity 2D, which, as the title of that music implies, was clearly not made for a game, and used that instead as the main game music.
I couldn't really hear it. Isn't it? It's a remix, isn't it?
Yes, of Painterly Mouse.
Yeah. Painterly Mouse by Forlorn Games.